So one thing I thought Ford always got wrong with the Maverick was not putting at least roof rails, if not roof racks, on it. And it's especially one of those where you really wonder what they were thinking when you find out that these rain gutter things are actually a hard channel that are anchored with nuts. There's studs on the bottom of them that are anchored down into the cab. But nobody's still come up with a direct retrofit that you could just bolt in there. It's not that hard to get under the edge of the roof liner, but whatever. I tried going through with Rack Attack to get them to come up with some sort of a system that I could install that would actually drill into the roof, and they wanted to sell me some $700 clamp-on rails. So I went cheap and I got something else. These are, let's see what they call this on the cover, the Pro4 series. They're sort of a universal that is supposed to have feet, and they are the clamp-on style, which I wasn't really happy with, but I guess I can live with it as long as they don't mark my truck up and chew up the paint. That's what I'm really the most worried about. So this is actually pretty nice because this is how it came actually out of the box, with these feet already put together. Now they show me instructions for how to bolt all this together, but it's already done, which is nice. The only thing I really have to do at this point is put the rubber feet on. When you're looking at these, you have these raised parts here that are going to kind of act like snaps, and then you actually have indentations they're going to fit into on the foot right here. So basically you're lining it up, making sure that the hole right there and the slot right here all line, and then you're just simply pressing those little rubber tab feet, whatever you want to call them, into the holes, and you kind of feel them snap or crunch into place. And I do like these bars because they do actually have sort of a airfoil aerodynamic shape to them, which should probably help with aerodynamics, noise, whatever. And then there's these rubber pieces that fill in these slots, and these right here are what that plate, you're going to unscrew that screw just enough to get that plate up inside of that channel, and then tighten it down at the correct dimension, and that's what holds everything together. So it's sort of like a poor man's I don't know, Thule or Yakima or something like that. Basically they copied the same idea, just I don't know, cheaper, who knows, but definitely cheaper than buying the real one, because this was less, it was like $150, $200 versus $700 from going with Rack Attack. And so there you can see the way that it's going right into that channel as I slide it in like that, and then we'll tighten it down once we know the right dimension to have it set at. Once you get it all together, you kind of come down to the trickier part, which is getting your alignment correct. You're going to need a tape measure. You're going to want to start measuring like these overhangs here, the distance it's in. And one of the things you want to look at too is if you look inside that nut, you can see that the bolt is fairly far down there. And on this side, it's screwed in quite a bit, so you're going to have to straighten that out. Get to start with the two of them on an equal distance out before you start tightening anything up. And in order to get that off, you're going to have to unlock, and then this cap pulls straight out on the end here, like so. And now you can get to the adjustment screw. So on mine I ended up with a 3 1/4 inch overhang on the ends, and that gives your foot placement something like that, which I don't know if is correct or not because the instructions don't really say. So I'll try it and see. Worst that happens is I have to move them out. I don't know, maybe I wonder if the rubber isn't actually supposed to catch the edge of this, but we'll find out. So once you have the dimensions set that you think you want them to be at, the next step is to work on making them quiet and protecting the paint. So looking at the channel from the end, you have a slot that goes all the way down the bottom, and that is going to whistle if you don't fill it. Now they provide a strip to do that, and I removed it while I was setting these legs, and this is one of those where once you adjust it for one vehicle, if you transfer it to another one, you may have to find a new piece of rubber or fill that with sponge rubber or something like that. So this will have to be cut to length because it's actually a little bit too long. So this is the point where you figure that out and then cut it. So basically I just have it tucked up tight against the tower here, and then you literally can just press it into the channel like that and it stays. And once you meet the other end, obviously pull it back so that it actually has a little bit of pressure pushing it between the two towers, and then cut it. And that will give you a nice tight fit against the tower here, and a nice... One other thing, it's not shown in the instructions, but they provide it. This is like thick vinyl, almost like you'd get with like an inflatable or a vinyl pool inflatable mattress or something like that to patch in an emergency. And I'm pretty sure, like they don't say, but these hooks are just bare metal, powder coated, I believe, and they could easily scratch the paint. So I am going to be sticking one to the inside of this hook so that it doesn't scratch my vehicle up. Doesn't fit perfectly, but it will protect the paint, which is all I'm really caring about. I even wrapped it all the way around the end of the hook here, so that won't scrape or scratch either. So once you've got it all set in place the way you think you want it, and hooks set correctly under the edges, feet about where you think they should be. Like I said, I don't know for sure because these instructions don't tell me. Then you're going to start tightening up this Allen screw, and literally I would say do one turn on one side and then do one turn on the other side. And once again, make sure that those nuts didn't turn, the little T part that holds that nut didn't turn sideways. You're gonna up and down. You want it going forward and aft. Otherwise, it's not going to seat correctly into the notch where it's the strongest for it to hold. That's the way it's supposed to sit. Then the test for these, at least what I've always done, I've had these cheap tile clamp-on ones before. I got off of eBay from my Focus years ago. Just simply take it, see if you can shake the car without the rack going anywhere. That's a good test to know that it's not going to let go and go flying away. So once you get it all clamped down good and tight, see how it fits. Just slightly deforms the outer rain gasket there, but it's still not gonna let rain in. That's just more what they have there to channel water away from trying to run down against the inside seal. Helps with airflow noise as well. Then you're gonna put your caps back on the outside, and with the cap, simply got those 4 feet like that, and you want to engage them into the 2 slots there. Then you got to get your top 2 to also engage. Why is it just fighting me? There we go. And then it kind of snaps in, and when it's horizontal, it's locked. So it's the Toros roof rack clamp-on system for the Maverick, and we still have one more part that goes on as well. Since we know that the end of these rails will also whistle and could actually set up quite the harmonic, being an open, kind of like blowing over the top of an open bottle, they provide these caps which snap together like that, and you wedge them open here at the trailing edge. And the last part you have here are these caps that snap together, and you see this small channel right here. That is for that screw to catch, this screw right here. So you're going to put that up against the end and get it to fit in. Once you get it to fit in, it might be easier actually without the screw in it. Let's see if that makes it any easier or not. Oh yeah, look at that. Nope, maybe not. Alright. Well, it's supposed to go in there. Let me see if I can figure this out here. Alright, so there you go. It took 2 hands, but I got it pushed in. and you get that hole for the screw right there. So now we got to drive the screw in. So this screw actually is what will anchor this in here and keep you from losing the bar end like that. And then this right here is actually like a gate, because you can have accessories that slot in, I don't know, different brackets and whatever for bicycles, kayaks, ski racks, whatever. And this right here is what keeps them from coming off the end of the bar. Another thing to remember as you put these on is you want to have measurements match from side to side to be able to make sure that everything is on straight, because if it's not, the wind could actually twist it, and that would actually make it come loose from the roof. So I have rooftop carrier bars on my truck, and we're getting ready to go on a trip and bring a whole bunch of boats. I have a trailer for some, but I want to carry more on top of my truck. And one of the things you always want whenever you're car top carrying a bunch of kayaks, canoes, ladders, lumber, whatever it is, you want a place where you can secure stuff on the front of the vehicle. This is actually a very good safety thing, because there's a lot of force of air flowing up over your windshield and hitting the front of that boat and trying to rip it right up off the roof. And so if it is tied down to the very front of the vehicle, it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to hold that down. The other thing is, as the driver, you're going to have a rope going up here to whatever your object is, and if that rope moves or loses slack, you know something shifted on the roof, and it's a very good indication. I see people driving down the road all the time with their boats cockeyed, just about coming out of J-racks. I mean, it's not safe. And look around online, you will find out that these are dangerous, and they do go through people's windshields. They kill people, they injure and damage and cause major wrecks. So here's an easy way to make sure you're not one of the people that does that. Get your hood and find, in this case with the Maverick, there's a bolt right there and there's a bolt right there, and this will make it very easy to install some anchors that will be permanently on the vehicle, but not permanently in view, only when you need them. So once you've located the bolts to use, I thought about using these, but these involve headlight adjustment. I don't want to deal with that. This is metal to metal, it's stronger, and sometimes I do have heavy stuff like extension ladders and things like that on the roof. So simply unbolt, and I've done this to every vehicle I've ever owned. I put a set of these on, and the nice thing is normally they're not in view, because you can just fold them down when they're not in use. So there's your bolt. Then the next thing you're going to need is some strap. This is some nylon lashing strap. It is good and strong. I actually cut it off the end of one that I needed to make shorter for a particular use. And you're going to want to figure what a good length is so that it can be down here and up above the edge of the hood, but you don't want a ridiculously long flopping thing above the hood, so that's about a good length right there. So that right there, we now need to make a hole. And the way I like to do it, I have my grass grill, it's going, it's getting good and hot, and I have an old screwdriver that I don't care about anymore. It's a cheap one, got it probably from Walmart or Kmart or who knows what. And this, good source of heat, I'm going to hold that right down in the flame until that tip gets good and hot. And then test it. No, it's not ready to melt its way through yet. It's starting to melt though. Keep it there a little longer in the flame. If you have a soldering iron, that's another good thing to use. I just didn't have one handy. My grill was right here by the driveway, ready to go. A torch for soldering pipes. It's actually perfect. That's the best. A gas stove is another one that works really well. Even a cigarette lighter will do it, but it's going to be slow. All right, let's see if it's ready to melt its way through now. I can feel the heat coming off of this thing. Started to melt, but not enough yet. And you do want to do this in an outdoor area because, yes, you're melting plastic, and there's going to be some fumes and some stink, and not chemicals that are good to breathe. Let's see if it's ready to do it this time. And there we go. And you really don't want to make any bigger of a hole than that. In fact, if the two of them fuse together, that's not a bad thing either. You just want it big enough that you can force that bolt through both straps. And the fact that you melted this hole versus cutting it or drilling it will actually keep the ends from getting frayed, the edges from getting frayed, and actually make everything stronger. And what you want to end up with is that. Which you then, of course, will cut right here, because you don't need any extra length here. You don't want anything that can get down and, you know, get caught in moving parts of the engine. That's a very bad thing as well. The other thing you want to do is you want to melt these ends so that they can't come unfrayed as well. So there it is, all nice and melty and ready to reinstall. If you think these bolts, like this has a nice washer under the head, if it didn't have that, I would actually maybe put a bigger washer on there, but I'm really not worried because this has plenty. I actually like to turn them like that. So normally, when I don't need something, they're in like this, the hood's closed, nobody knows anything. But when I'm going somewhere with a boat, ladder, lumber, you name it, I got this and this, you can just about lift the front of the vehicle with. And just to show you what it looks like with the hood shut. There you go. This will not chafe the paint. I've driven this, like I said, I've had these on every vehicle I've owned. And I have put these, they have gone for many thousands of miles holding stuff on the roof for boats, going on camping trips and stuff. And it hasn't chafed the paint. Now if you drive with it flopping around, it's going to make little marks from fluffing in the wind. So that's where you definitely want to put it down underneath, out of sight, so it can't be seen. But there you go. Hood anchors. Now I know there are companies that sell you like a piece of rubber pipe that you put in there and you smush down. This is more solid than that. It will not pull out no matter what. And you can't forget it. You can't leave it somewhere. You can't, oh shoot, I'm getting a boat, I forgot to bring it with me. This way, it's always on the vehicle. And they're cheap and easy to install. And then, when you're all set, flop it down, hood shut, you're done. All set. Well, the roof racks actually did very well. We just did a 5-hour drive. We actually had 2 kayaks on top of the roof here on the interstate up through the mountains, and nothing felt loose. Wasn't any weird humming noises or anything like that. And the only thing that I would recommend if you're going to do these roof racks with kayaks is add these hood loops right here. This just goes to a bolt that's underneath the hood, melted through the straps, and put a bow light on it. That way I just make sure that nothing's going to come loose. And if the kayak shifts or anything like that, I can instantly tell because I can see the bow rope. But this actually saves you from having any extra force on this rack because there's always airflow pushing up hard on the front of the kayak. So you always want to have that extra reinforcement. But it actually works very well. So we just finished a 10-hour trip, plus a whole bunch of running back and forth to the lake while we were away in the Adirondacks. We just came back 5 hours from the Adirondacks with a very heavy paddleboard and fairly heavy kayak on the roof, and I'd like to report that this rack is solid. I have no concerns at all about using it for just about anything within the weight rating given by the manufacturer.